Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about how to be a leader in video games. An IGL, a captain, whatever you want to call it. Being a captain in real sports and being a captain in video games is obviously far different. So today I'm going to be talking about video games because it doesn't really get a lot of light from pro players. They don't really explain it. They do some players do like some sort of coaching sessions and all that, but a lot of that's really just not helpful. So I'm going to be talking about a few things that can make you become a leader, IGL, or team captain a lot better, how to develop your skills being a leader. So the first step I have is understanding the game. Just having simple setups and stuff that you can do to bring to other teams. So like if I'm on, for instance, border on Siege, I want to have at least two different kinds of attack plans. Attacking is, in Siege especially, is very much you need to have an idea of what you're doing. On defense, you can kind of throw something together more last second, or you can kind of think more on the fly. Now, you can do that on attack too, but you have to play around the defense, so you have to have some sort of idea or game plan. Attacking in Siege, you get to control how the round goes. On defense, you have to sit and wait and play off of your setup. On attack, you have to know what you're going to do. This can go for other games like Valorant or CSGO, but in Siege, with a game with so much utility that you place down and use throughout the round, you're going to need to know setups for attacking. So again, for each map that isn't inside of the comp pool, you need to have setups ready and set to go. You need to understand the game. You need to know what callouts to make. You need to know what operators do what. You need to study. You need to know how to do things. You need to know what your teammates can and can't do, what is possible of them. And you need to know what are common places enemies are going to be playing. What do we need to do to get around that? You need to really contribute everything to this. Just having general setups and ideas of what you need to do in the game. Now, my next step, you have to understand your players' emotions and their personalities. Now, this might be the biggest step of being an IGL or a team captain, is that you have to understand each individual player's emotions that they will have in the game and having their personalities. Personalities are going to be a big part of the team because if a player has a different personality that conflicts with another teammate, then they need to work that out. So a lot of this goes into outside of the server. You need to really understand each other and be able to bond, be able to just talk. We need to be able to understand each other in a way that will allow us to flow better in the game. Now, a big example I want to bring up here is back in the Prime G2 in Rainbow Six Siege, Fabian had stated that there was a moment where Pengu got killed on Coastline in a Pro League game, and Pengu was getting really mad, and Fabian says that he understood that Pengu needed to be able to have somebody else take the blame because he did not like putting the blame on himself. So Fabian apologized and said, "I'm sorry, Nick," and Pengu reluctantly forgave him, and they moved on. Otherwise, Pengu would have been very upset about that, his death in that round, and he would have lingered on that throughout the game, and it would hurt their performance heavily. So Fabian, probably the greatest leader to touch Siege, probably the best IGL in my opinion to touch Siege, considering he's won 2 invitationals as a player and 1 as a coach. So I think he's just a great leader, somebody to look after or go off of how he played Siege. So yeah, back to the point of you need to understand the emotions of your players and how their personalities can clash. So that way you can work around it and already be ahead before the game starts. You just need to be able to gel with each other. You need to be able to communicate very well. That is huge. You need to always work on communication, but that's mainly the coach's job here, is to make sure the team communicates well. So my next step is developing strategies as a team. So a lot goes into developing strategies. The coach, the analyst, and even the players can chime in on it. But I think a great thing to do that I think is underutilized is thinking on the fly. So if you're about to play a game and you think of an idea, tell your team. You need to be like, "Hey guys, I have this idea where we can take a castle in Malusia. We can do this great setup. Or we can actually have 3 people roaming. We can do this. We can change this last second." Again, I always go back to Fabian because he was on the greatest Siege team to ever exist, and he often talked about how he'd just be showering or eating, and he'd just think of an idea, and they would do it, and they would win with it. So I think being able to develop strategies as a team, letting everybody have a voice in how you're going to work around a round or figure something out is always going to be major. But when you're inside of the actual game, you can't have everybody talking at once, but that just goes back down to the previous point of communication. But yes, you need to develop strategies as a team. I think that is major, because if you just make a plan and you're like, all right, you're going to go here, that guy might have a better idea. So you just need to be able to develop strategies working as a team. So then working out roles, this kind of goes more into the earlier phase, but I feel like as you kind of mesh more, you might be able to really understand if role changes need to go. So role changes are usually not the best ideal thing, because usually that means something is not working out and a player might just need to be replaced. But sometimes working out roles can be huge. TSM won an invitational because they worked out roles. Merc, he became the IGL instead of just a fragger, and it worked out huge. They ended up winning an invitational. So sometimes role changes can be massive and very important. So if somebody's maybe doing really good on hard support, should you change their role? Like, say they are getting a lot of kills, should you make them a fragger? Well, I actually argue not, because they're doing good on the guns that they're using and the roles that they're playing. So no, I don't think that would be an example. I think you just need better fraggers if that's the problem. But if you have maybe a fragger that is not getting a lot of kills, but he has huge and great communication, maybe you just need to put that fragger on hard support. Or maybe even have him IGL if he's great at communicating. Okay, so the last thought here I have is keeping your team on track for victory. It can be very, very hard as a leader to make sure that your team is motivated during the game. So sometimes this means just if there's a moment where you guys are just, say, you got a guy in a 1v5 and he's sitting outside, you guys are just talking. You need to be able to motivate your team and keep them on track to win. It can be very, very hard when you're down massively, but if you just give them a pep talk, this can very much motivate them and change the round completely. It takes one good round to make a bad game into a good game. It takes one round where your team pops off. It takes one round where your team is communicating and excited. They're excited that they won, so they're going to keep going and they're going to win. So that's really my last point here. As a leader, you just really need to understand how the team works, how to develop the team, and what to do in the game. You need to have plans set out. You need to know how the people will communicate and how their personalities could clash, what emotions that they're going to have. I think a lot of what a team captain needs to do is just motivate your players. Now, this could be more of a coaching thing. Yes, it could. But when the coach can't talk inside of game, the team captain needs to be able to step up and say, guys, like, what the fuck are we doing? We need to push better. We need to communicate. Why are we not talking? Why are we getting quiet when we're dying? So there's a lot that goes into it. And obviously, this video is just a bit for any really game, like video game that you want to play. It's just a general guide, especially for FPS. But, I've IGL'd in Siege for a few years and off and on. And a lot of the advice that I'm giving you here is I've gotten from a few professional coaches or Challenger League coaches throughout the years. So that's really all I have here. I hope you guys do a good job at improving if you're trying to be an IGL. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comments. And thanks for watching.